Hi everyone, my name is Nazim Gashi. I am a GIS expert working with UNICEF headquarters at a MICS program team. Today we are gathered for the launching webinar of the MICS Geospatial Covariates. Colleagues that are not aware for the work that we are doing, the MICS Multiple Indicator Classes Survey is a global household survey, which is the UNICEF flagship household survey program, and has been conducting surveys in the last 3 decades in more than 120 countries. And at the moment, we are running with the 7th round of MICS with around more than 50 surveys at the moment, which are in different stages of the survey, either in the survey design, data collection, or in the data processing stage. MICS is a household survey that is gathering around 440 SCG indicators, which approximately is half of the SCG indicators that can be calculated using household surveys. One of the MICS projects is MICS GIS, which started in 2021 as a new initiative within the MICS program. And through the MICS GIS, we are trying to make geospatial data available for as many MICS surveys as we can. As we are moving forward with the 7th round of MICS and trying to make GIS data available for the surveys that are at this moment are being conducted. At the same time, we are moving backwards on making GIS data available for the surveys that have been conducted in the past, especially on the MICS 6 and MICS 5 rounds. At the moment, we are making available, regarding GIS data, we are making available the shapefiles of survey boundaries, as we call it, and then the anonymized GPS data sets, meaning the anonymized displays mixed class locations. We make them available in a shapefile format. And now, today, we are launching the new third project, which is called Geospatial Covariates, where we actually release the geospatial covariates data sets for mixed surveys. So there are some other projects within the MICS GIS, and another one is integration of degree organization into the MICS program. So with the MICS website online, there is a web page where you can get access to the MICS GIS data as well. And in this MICS GIS webpage, there is a dedicated space for all the geospatial work that is conducted in the MICS. And there you can find the MICS GIS tools, you can find the methodological papers that we have published till now, and the manuals on how to use the MICS GIS tools, and some webinars and best practices of using MICS GIS data. And more important, the most important one is you can there get access to the GIS data sets. So to the survey boundaries and GPS data sets till today, and from now on, you can get access to the geospatial covariates data sets as well. So what are the geospatial covariates that we are releasing today? Basically, this means that we are linking the survey data with the external data coming from open sources. We are linking the mixed survey cluster locations with the external data coming from different topics, most important from the population indicators, climate, environment, and health indicators. So basically, with this geospatial covariates data sets, we are trying to make it easier for mixed users to be able to conduct geospatial analysis without the need to have GIS expertise. So in this way, while we are linking the mixed while we are collecting the mixed survey data in one side, we are linking with external data from open sources. I'll mention the sources in the following slides, and this way we are making adding some geospatial components on the mixed data. So in this way you can do even spatial and temporal geospatial analysis. For this work, we have developed a huge repository within our MICS program, where we are collecting the data which are coming from open sources. On the indicators that I mentioned before, some of the main sources that we have in this geospatial covariates repository are coming from different universities around the globe and from different organizations like the FAO, so the Food Organization, then some universities. Some population indicators are coming from, for example, from GHSL, from European Commission, and then from World Pub, University of Southampton, and some other data sources that we are using. We have prepared a huge repository for different years. The data come back from the last century, so we have some data coming as early as 1970s, and to the latest data, some of them coming from 2024 and some of them coming from 2025. This repository has all the indicators together sitting in one place. The work that we have done internally includes packaging this data. For example, sometimes if we needed to merge some regional layers to a global layer, and then some of the layers we needed to reproject them, all of them to be in the same coordinate reference system, which is the global one that we use is WGS84. And once we have this repository in one place, we are now just linking this with a MICS survey location data, and we are extracting the values for each of the MICS cluster and MICS data and MICS reporting domains. So the data formats that we have developed our tools and can are able to calculate the geospatial covariates come in two different data file formats. One is GeoTIFF raster files, and the other is on vector shapefiles. So these are the two main sources that we are using. In the repository that we have developed at the moment, all the layers are in raster file format, but of course for internal use and for the use that we are doing specifically for different countries, we use vector data as well. And as I said, the coordinate reference system that we use for all the repository is in WGS84 file format. And this includes not only the work that we are doing for the geospatial covariates, but also for the GPS data sets and for the survey boundaries. All of the data are released in this coordinate reference system. For the geospatial covariates, different summary statistics can be calculated, basically almost identical on what you can calculate on GIS softwares. So down here, I have listed all of them that can be calculated. Most of them can be calculated only for the raster files, and the last one, which is the distance to the nearest features, can be calculated for the vector data. So here are two examples on what we are calculating. So for the mixed cluster locations, the geospatial covariates are calculated for the buffer zones around the anonymized GPS data sets. So we have for each mixed cluster, depending on the area type of the cluster, we have generated a buffer, either being a 2-kilometer radius buffer or 5 kilometers. So 2 kilometers is for urban clusters and 5 kilometers, the buffer radius is for the rural clusters. And this is just following the protocols on displacing and anonymizing the GPS data sets, because some of you may already know that we are displacing the GPS data before releasing the data. So we displace the cluster locations from the original location to the neighboring area using the distance parameters of 2 and 5 kilometers. So 2 for urban and 5 kilometers for rural. So that's why we are using the buffers of 2 and 5, meaning that all the time, even that this is the calculation done for the displaced cluster locations, always the original location of the cluster is located somewhere within the buffer. So for the buffer zones, we are just overlapping with the raster data and calculating the summary statistics for all the pixels, all the grid squares that you see on the screen, all the pixels that are overlapping with the buffers. The value of all of them is included in the calculation, and then we just take the statistics like mean, sum, count, minimum, maximum, and so on. And then for the vector data, we are calculating the distance to the nearest feature. Here, for example, I'm showing the cluster mixed cluster locations, and we can calculate the distance to the nearest line. Here is an example to the distance to the nearest main road, and it can be distance to the nearest national boundary, subnational, international boundary, water bodies, and so on. So uh, for the geospatial covariates work, we are calculating in three different levels. We are calculating the covariates at the mixed cluster level, at the reporting domains, and at the certification level for each specific mixed survey. So in one side, for each mixed cluster, you have an estimation for each of the indicators that we are calculating at the moment. So meaning we are using the buffers that I showed in the previous slides, 2 and 5 kilometers, and we are calculating each indicators. Like you see in the example here, we have the population count for each mixed cluster, the number of people that are living in a specific year for the specific cluster. And then we have the Gurba variable here, which is degree of urbanization. So we are classifying by the urban type, urban degree, we are classifying each mixed cluster. And then here's the mean temperature for that specific year in degrees Celsius, and the walking travel time to the nearest healthcare facility for this specific year, which is 2019. And we are calculating this in minutes. So for each cluster, you have the estimation for each indicator. And then the same goes for the reporting domains and the mixed certification. Sometimes reporting domains and strata in mix means the same thing, but not always. So that's why we are showing this as reporting domains and as strata level. This is the list of geospatial covariates that we are calculating at the moment. For each specific survey, approximately there are around 200 different variables calculated for each survey. This 200 variables in total includes around 40 different indicators, but because for each specific indicator we are calculating for different years, that's why in total the number of variables can go around 200. It can go lower than that or even more than 200 different variables. The measurements, just to repeat myself again, are taken at the cluster levels using the buffers, 2 kilometer buffers for urban clusters and 5 kilometers for the rural ones, and then for straight line reporting domains using the boundaries of what we have already released in the survey boundaries and for the GPS data sets. We have 6 main topics on what we are calculating the covariates. These topics are listed here: the population, geography and environmental indicators, agriculture, climate, urbanization, and health indicators. I'll go one by one very briefly to mention uh, what indicators are we calculating in these specific topics. Let's start with the agriculture one. On the geospatial covariates list for the agriculture indicators, we have 2 main indicators. The first one is irrigation coverage in mixed survey locations. So we are measuring the average land proportion of equipped for irrigation. And then the second one is livestock density. So for each square kilometer, we are calculating the average number of livestock, and we have 6 different livestock that we are calculating, and there are buffaloes, cattle, chickens, goats. Goats. This is a mistake. It's not goat, but it's goats, pigs, and sheep. For both of these indicators, the data source is coming from food organizations, so from FAO. And these indicators are just coming from one specific year. When it comes to the climate variables, I must say that around half of the indicators are coming from the climate variables. So here we have listed all the indicators that we are calculating for the climate variables. It starts, I have just sorted them using ascending, so from A to Z. So it starts with aridity. We are calculating the aridity for each mixed cluster and reporting domains and certification. And this aridity index is coming from the proportion between the precipitation and potential EVA transportation. And the aridity and all the climate indicators are coming for different years. So we are using the years 2000, 2005, 2010, 15, 20, and the survey year as we call it. So the survey year means if a specific survey, let's say Nigeria MICS 6 was conducted in 2021, so all the geospatial covariates will be available for the survey year, including the years that I have mentioned previously. So 2000, 2005, 10, 15, and 20. And for some other indicators, we are including as well the 2025 as well. And if a specific survey was conducted in two different years, let's say, for example, the survey that was conducted in Kosovo MICS 6, we are including both years, so 2019 and 20, and so on and so forth. So for the second indicator on the climate variables is the land surface temperature. So we have three different indicators. So is the day land surface temperature, is the night land temperature, and the total 24 hours average land surface temperature. And as well, this one is available for different years, 2005 and onwards. The third one is diurnal temperature range, where we are just calculating, we are using the average between the differences in the maximum and minimum temperature within the 24 hours range. And then we have the draft episodes. So this goes from number 1 being the lowest and 10 biggest. So different number of episodes that are happening in a specific mix of a location. Then we have the number of frosty days. This is a monthly average, so the number of frosty days that is happening in a specific area. Then we have the climate classification for each mixed survey location, and this is done using the Köppen climate classification. I know for the people that are joining here and are aware for the Köppen classification, people know that different climate classification are available online, but we are using this one, the Köppen, and it has 30 different classes, and we are including all of them. So we are finding the average, meaning the majority of the area for each mixed cluster certification and reporting domains in which the cluster belongs. So in which class the climate class, the cluster, specific cluster belongs. Then on the temperature, we have different calculation. We have the maximum, minimum, and mean temperature. This is the yearly average, but as well we have the monthly average for the temperature. So for each month, we have the calculation starting from January to December, and then for the yearly, we are starting with the year 2000 till the latest data available, which is coming from 2024. For the potential EVA transportation, so this one means if there is unlimited water available in a specific area, how much evaporation can happen in that specific area. So that is what the potential EVA transportation means. And we are calculating the average for the mixed survey locations. And then we have the precipitation, so for different years. And then we have so the precipitation in millimeters, the monthly average of precipitation in a specific area. Then the rainfall, we have the average. We are doing three different calculations for the rainfall. We have the monthly average, we have the yearly average, and as well we have the 30 years average for the rainfall in specific area. So the monthly is from January to December, and the yearly is from 2000, 2005 and so on. And then for the 30 years average, it's using the data from the 1991 to 2020. Then for the temperature, I already mentioned. So we have the monthly average for the data coming from 1970 to 2000. So is the monthly average for each specific month. And then the number of wet days. So the number of wet days for specific month. And for all these the climate variables, the data sources are listed here. So for most of them, the data source is CRUTS, the latest version, which is the version 4.09. And then some data are coming from MODIS and GLO H2O, Climate Hazard Group, and World Climate. On geography and environment covariates, we have three main indicators. The first one is the elevation. So we are taking the average elevation for the for each mixed cluster and each mixed rate and reporting domains. So the average elevation or the altitude above the sea level is the calculation is done in meter. And then we have a fine particular matter, so PM2.5, which is indicating the annual average on the ground level concentration and is measured annually for the air quality and pollution exposure for mixed children. And then the third indicator is on the land cover type. So we are using a classification coming from MODIS. It has 17 classes, such as coming from forest, wetlands, urban areas, and barren land. So there are 17 classes, and we are classifying each mixed cluster and reporting domains and certification in the majority of the area in which land cover classification belongs. The data sources are listed down here, so it includes ASAT, atmospheric composition analysis group, and MODIS. We have some health indicators. Mainly, we have four main indicators, which are ITN coverage, malaria incident and prevalence, and the travel time to healthcare. So the ITN coverage is basically estimating the average proportion of population protected by insecticide treated nets, bed nets. And then for the malaria incidence, we have the annual number of malaria incidence cases per person. And then we have the malaria prevalence, and this is done just for group age, which is for children from age of 2 to 10. And then we have the travel time to the nearest healthcare measured in minutes. So for the travel time to the nearest healthcare, we have the measurements for the motorized travel time and the walking travel times to the nearest healthcare. Both of them are the calculation are done in the units of minutes, so we have the estimation in units. And all these four or five different indicators or have the same source, so we are using the data coming from Malaria Atlas project. Then on the population-based geospatial covariates, we have again main four indicators, but this includes more than that. We are estimating the total population density, the population of under 5 kids and under 18 as well. For the population count, we are doing the population counts using grid population estimates at the different resolutions. So it's either 100 meters per 100 meters or it's per square kilometers. And for the population counts, we are using three main sources on doing the estimation of people living in these specific areas. So for the main sources are WorldPop, GHSL, and GPV version 4. So that for the data source coming from WorldPop, the resolution is 100 meters And just 2 weeks ago, University of Southampton has released as they call it, a global two. So the population estimates global two for the years between 2015 to 2030, and we as MICS are using the years 2015, 2020, 2025, and the survey year. So the survey year, as I explained it before, where the survey in which year the survey was conducted. And then for the GHSL, we are using the population estimates coming from the data at the resolution of square kilometers, the data coming from the year 2000 to 2025, and GPV, which is the gridded population worldwide, version 4.11. And this is the population are adjusted to the UN population estimates. And again, this one comes at the resolution of 1 by 1 kilometer or per square kilometer pixel. So the GPV comes for the years 2020, for 2000 to 2020. For the population density, we are using the data coming from the GPV or GPW version 4.11, again at the 1 square kilometer resolution. And then for the under age of 5 years old, so for the kids under 5, the data source is coming from WorldPop. Again, this is available for the years between 2050 to 2025. These are the years that we are using within a MICS program. And a variable that is really important to us is the one that is for the under 18, because under 5 was available in the past as well. So now WorldPop has released the under 18 layer as well just 2 weeks ago, and we as MICS immediately started using this one on our calculation, because as MICS program we have the questionnaires for the under 5, and then we have the 5 to 17. So that is why important for, and then for the grown-ups, so from 15 to 49 years old. And that is why for us it's very important to include the layers population counts for under 5 and under 18. But I took a different attention to the under 18 because this in the past was not available. Then the last one is on the urbanization and human activities. So we have 5 main indicators. The first one is the degree of urbanization classification. So as I said it, we as a MICS program are integrating the degree of urbanization into the household survey of MICS. And here we are making available for each MICS cluster the degree of urbanization classification in 3 classes. So rural areas, town and semi-dense areas, and cities. Of course, we are continuing to use the national definition of urban and rural. So the national definition for each country. But as well, we now are integrating this, the GURBA, the abbreviation for degree of urbanization, into the geospatial covariates work, and we are classifying each mixed cluster and reporting domains and strata in 3 classes: so rural, towns and semi-dense areas, and cities. And then we have the build-up surface measurements. So we are just calculating the average build-up area in square meters per 10,000 square meters. Then the third indicator is global human footprint index. So this is ranging between 0 to 50. So meaning 0, there is no human footprint there, and 50 is the highest pressure possible, like in urban zones. And then the fourth one is the night lights composite. So we are using the Earth Observation Group data on the night lights for all the global data available at the global level, and we are estimating for each mixed survey locations. And the last indicator is on the travel time. So the average travel time to the nearest city, to the nearest big city. in the specific area. So the first two indicators are coming from the source of global human settlement layer, and then the third one is coming from the last wild project, and the night lights are coming from the Earth observation group, and the travel times it's coming from Malaria Atlas project. I know for a lot of data sources that I mentioned here through the geospatial covariates, we are in direct contact with people coming from this organization or universities that are making this data available. And in the past, they have been using MICS data on MICS GIS data on making this data available. And now we are as well using this data to make geospatial covariates available for the for mixed survey locations. Uh, as of yesterday, the geospatial covariates are available for all the surveys that have already released the GIS data in the MICS website. The data can be found in the MICS GIS webpage, in the MICS program website. And here I have listed all the surveys in 17 different countries. So in total, 19 surveys at the moment have released the GIS data, including survey boundaries and GPS datasets. And as of yesterday, we have the geospatial covariates as well available. Many more are in the pipeline, including MICS 7 surveys, as they will come and publish the data in the near future. For all this work that I have presented, we have launched our geospatial covariates methodological paper. Just yesterday, we have put this paper online, and is a paper, a mixed methodological paper number 13. And here you can find much more details for each specific indicator that I briefly mentioned during this webinar. And there you have all the specification on the data sources where we got the data, and what each indicator means, and so on. The first methodological paper has been published last year, and this paper is showing the procedure on the geographic displacement of the GPS datasets, so mixed cluster locations. This has been published in the September last year in 2024, and this one has been published just yesterday. And as well with the published release of the geospatial covariates, we have released the updated tools, MICS GIS tools, which can be found under MICS GIS tools in the survey tools and in the MICS GIS webpage through our website. And the MICS geocode plugin, which works in QGIS, is available for everyone to use it, not only for MICS, but for all the household surveys, to anonymize the GPS datasets in one side, and in the other side to calculate the geospatial covariates. So we have the tool available in our website, and there are manuals and all the tools on how to use and samples to run to better understand how this tool works. As well, to the National Statistics offices, we are conducting the trainings on use of this tool and all the GIS tools. Just wanted to mention that this tool also is available on GitHub. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I hope I was not speaking very fast. Now, before passing the floor to Bo, I just want to make one announcement. So I want to thank the Demographic Health Survey Program, which they have paved the road for us. In the past, DHS has been making available geospatial covariates in the past few years, and they have the latest version of the geospatial covariates that they make available is the version 3, and from the information I have, it was understood that this year they are going with the version 4, but because of the things that happened within the DHS program, they didn't manage to release this project. But we have used the DHS program repository to build our repository, and we are using most of the indicators are very similar on the indicators that we use and on the sources that we use for the data, same as on DHS, but we have also included some indicators that are more relevant to MICS program and so on. So again, thank you very much for listening to me. And now we open for question and answer. But before doing that, I will pass the floor to Bo if he has to add anything to the presentation that I did and to the questions that are coming in the chat. Thank you, and over to you, Bo.
Thank you. And thanks, Nazim, for a very clear presentation that I didn't manage to hear anything of because I was answering questions. I've answered 15 questions and we have 19 that are open. That's what I managed. So some of them I have left to be answered live, which I now don't see. So perhaps I can ask you to talk a little bit more about, for example, people who are already registered for GIS datasets. Can they now go with the existing registration and download the covariate dataset?
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, this is a very good question, and thank you for raising whoever did. So on the GIS data, I mentioned that we have three different packages on the data that we release. There are the survey boundaries, GPS data sets, and the geospatial covariates. The survey boundaries and geospatial covariates are available, freely available to all the MICS users to directly download them. While for the GPS datasets, users need to request the GPS datasets because of the confidentiality, and we want to protect more on the people that get access to the GPS datasets. So that's why we have developed this request form, and people need to request the data there. And then we, as Mix program, within 3 working days, we are going to approve that request or reject it. And for the geospatial covariates, all the mix users can directly download the data and they don't necessarily need to request the GPS data to get access to the geospatial covariates. Yeah.
Another question, probably the most popular question. I haven't even published all of these. How many more data sets are we going to release, Nazim? I know you talked a bit about it. Maybe I can come in here and say that we have every intent to publish as much as possible. The data is not owned by UNICEF. It is not owned by the MICS program. All data from each survey belongs to the government that has implemented the survey with UNICEF as a partner. So therefore, if a particular government does not agree to have the data published, then we don't publish the data. That should be pretty straightforward. That can be for several reasons. In most cases that we don't publish data is simply because we were not with the level of technical assistance that we are at this point for older data sets. And even though for many countries that the data is available, it takes a bit of work to work backwards, right? We are asking, you are talking about, can you release everything from the MICS 6 surveys? The first MICS 6 survey started nearly 10 years ago, right? So you have to go back, you have to find the cluster locations in the frame, etc. It is possible, and we have done so even for older surveys, but it does take time. And our clear priority is to look forwards and to release for everything that we do where we have permission. But we will still work backwards. I don't think you should be expecting more than half of the MICS 6 surveys, though. I think that's maybe our biggest goal. There are other questions. There's a good question here, very specific from Alberto. Are the distances from main roads to MICS clusters or to the anonymized MICS cluster locations?
Thank you for this question. Actually, these are two questions. First, for the distance and for everything on the on what I have presented on the geospatial covariates calculations, we are doing the calculation using the buffer zones built around the displaced cluster locations. So nothing from the data that we are releasing here are from the original cluster locations, but these are done using the buffers around the displaced point. As I said, that's why we are using the buffers of 2 and 5 kilometers. So that automatically is including the original location of the cluster, but that is only within the 2 and 5 kilometers buffer. But this is done using the displaced cluster location. So this is the first part of the question. And the second part of the question on the distance to the nearest road, I just showed an example on how this can be done using our MICS GIS tools. From the repository that we have launched yesterday and from the data sets that we have launched yesterday, we don't have a calculation of distance to the nearest road. This is only, it can be done if there is a specific interest from a country team or from a specific survey to include this in the future. But the moment we are not calculating this. What we are calculating on the distance is the distance to the nearest health facility and the distance to the nearest big city. So for the distance to healthcare and to the cities, we are using the data coming in raster file format, which are coming for each square kilometer at the global level. And this work was done from the Malaria Atlas project. And we are just estimating the distance using the buffers that are overlapping, with the grids that are overlapping within mixed buffers. But specifically, we are not calculating any distance to the roads. Thank you.
Then a couple of questions around future updates to this. There are questions on whether other variables will be included in the future. There's a question about updates to, say, population estimates, to climate data, etc. What do we expect in terms of updating with more variables and with more data points for the individual surveys?
Yeah, thank you. So this is work in progress, and I'm very excited that we have reached this date to release this data. But immediately we are continuing to work on this for, let's say, for the version 2 of Geospatial Covariates that will come in the following years. So the repository that we have built at the moment is getting access to the data available from open sources on the most up-to-date data that are coming from these sources. But as we are working, for example, from the climate indicator and for all the indicators that I've showed, organization and universities are working on updating the data that they have available. And as they do, we are going to continue to do this. Probably, let's say in early 2027, we are going to come out with the next version of geospatial covariates, where we are going to update the data sources, and at the same time we are going to update the calculation using the most up-to-date data. And in the data sets that now you can access in the MICS website, for each indicators we are including the access date where we have access the data, because I mentioned the world pop data have been just updated 2 weeks ago, and the climate indicators have been updated a few months ago. So I'm sure they are going to update as the time goes. So that's why we have included the access date, which data are we using for our repository, and it will continue to stay like this till we come out with a version 2 and 3 and so on. But this is very optimistic, and this is a long time plans within the MICS program. So yeah, we are going to update it, but yeah.
There's a question relating to how does the estimates that the covariates, how do they take into account the seasonality of certain of the indicators? I imagine it is relatively straightforward to look at the monthly rainfalls, for instance. That would basically automatically take in the seasonality effect. But what about other types of classification? How is that handled? Do you know that, Nazim, or is it something that we have to push to our covariate owners, so to speak?
I like your last comment. This is more coming to the data owners that are making this data available. So for all the indicators, you have the sources and you can go to the link and find out more information for each specific. But for the indicators that the data were available, we were trying to do this as in the example that Bo just mentioned. For example, on the rainfall, we have the annual average, but as well we have the monthly average. We have the survey year average, but we have the 30 years average as well. So when possible, we are trying to make this seasonality data available, but generally this data are coming at annual estimations, and probably this question should go to the data owners. For example, on the night lights, the indicator that we are calculating of the measurement is done for the night lights that are coming from the days without a cloud. So this is automatically done from the data owners, and we are just continuing to use the data that they made available. So this is what I can say in short.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll through the open questions. You are welcome to do that too, Nassim. If you close your presentation, maybe you can do that. There are some very technical pieces that we probably have to defer to writing you a written answer on these. But there's a nice question here for me, which is very much relevant these days, which is, I mean, the question is, MICS and DHS are two things, or overlay. And yes, MICS and DHS are two different things. They're two different household survey programs, but I think that is probably clear to most people. As we have understood this year, is that the DHS program is at least on standstill at this point, and we are continuing with MICS from UNICEF, albeit also affected by the financial crisis. Yes, MICS and DHS are two different things, but we have in the past and in the future certainly tried to harmonize our things, which is also why that we have leaned heavily on DHS in creating this methodology and have only fine-tuned minor aspects, making it more appropriate for MICS surveys. So yes, there are lots of overlay, but also things that are different between the two. Another question from Aman asking that once we have displaced the geocodes, are they still useful? He is saying that in his opinion, once covariates are added to data sets, we don't need the GPS coordinates. What do you say to that, Nassim?
I hope that someone else is not in the call that will immediately go against this comment, because I'm sure there are a lot of other smart people around the globe that can do geospatial analysis using our GPS data and calculating geospatial covariates different from what we think are important. I was while Bo was speaking, I was going through the questions that are raised at the moment, and uh, so from what I see from the colleagues, there are a lot of different opinions on what can we use and what we can include and so on. But from our opinion, we still see value on making available the GPS data sets in one side and the geospatial covariates for the anonymized cluster locations for the users that not necessarily have GIS expertise. From I said that we for the people to get access to the GPS data sets, they need to request this data, and from the requests that we get, there are a lot of people that are planning to do geospatial covariance calculation and use that in their own analysis. So for these people, they don't need necessarily now to request the data. They can directly go and download the geospatial covariance without requesting the GPS data, because they already have the available geospatial covariance. So we are trying to make available as many data as we can in one side. And in the other side, as I said, there are a lot of much smarter people than us that can conduct all the geospatial covariance calculations. Bo, do you want me to take some questions from the chat?
If
Yeah.
anything you pick up, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I see a question on population. There are some question coming from the population estimates, and there is one saying, was it possible to use UNPD estimates? There might be differences from the sources that we use, and actually we are already doing that. We are not using the so we are the one of the three population estimate sources that we use is the one GPV, as I said, GPW, which is the grid population worldwide, which is UN adjusted population estimates, and that is actually taking into account the UNPD population estimates. So we are just using the source that has the data available at the global level and in a raster format. Because for all the geospatial covariates, we are just using whatever is available, and we are not conducting further analysis and generating new layers. So that is why we are using these ones. And then there is another question coming from Dana Thompson, and I have so she's from the CSIN group, and we already said that from the sources that we are using, they are in the same time they are updating monthly, yearly, and they are updating the data that are online. And from Dana, I see that the GPW version 5, so on the population estimates, is coming online soon. So we are using the latest version, which is 4.11, but I see that version 5 is going online soon. And this is another reason why we are going to update this in the following months or years. And I will be happy to get in touch with you, Dana. Go.
Yeah, I'm again scrolling through the questions. There are still many there, and they keep coming. I'm trying to pick up those that would be of interest to everyone, at least from what I can see. There's a nice comment on how to support MICS, and I will be willing to share my bank account if that is what you're looking for. But otherwise, it would depend on your role, obviously. We are always looking for good people. We have a shortage of good consultants for almost everything that we do. So I would suggest that you, either through your own national statistics office, any organization you're working with, you try to seek opportunities to work with UNICEF, and through that to work with the MICS program. Otherwise, if you're from the academic side of things, we are so pleased to read whenever MICS data is being used in any type of research, and even more so when the MICS data is being cited, and that the national statistics officers that are actually collecting this data are being referenced more than the MICS program, right? Because the ownership and the hard labor is really happening from the stats officers rather than us just building the tools and so on.
I see another question. Are the geospatial covariates published for most recent years or previous years as well? I think this question I have already answered. So the data, as I said, are for different years, but we have the main protocol that we use is to make the data available for 5 years range. So we make the data available for the year 2000, then 2005, 2010, 15, 20, and for some of the indicators 2025. Also the survey year, so the year where the survey was conducted. So basically, this is we are publishing the data for different years and not only for one specific year or for the most recent one. A lot of questions, and every time that I'm trying to read something, it is going down because a new one is coming. And I see a question from Jolene. Hi, Jolene. Why we are not using the population data from NSOs and use the data from the global data sets? As I said, the whole repository that we have prepared is using the global layers. So we are trying to use the same methodology for all the countries and do the geospatial covariance calculations using the same methodology for all the mixed surveys where we can. However, if for a specific survey, when we are conducting a survey in a specific country, together with the country team, we can discuss to include something that is specific only to that country. If that is to include the population numbers coming from the National Statistics Office, we would be happy to do that for that specific country. But the reason why we use global data sets is because we want to have the same approach to use to calculate geospatial covariates in the same approach for all the countries. I mentioned the degree of urbanization. I said that in the mixed data sets we have the stratification urban and rural using the national definition of urban and rural. But we are also including the degree of urbanization because this is an population-based global definition of what it means urban and rural. So that is what we are trying to reach on using the global data sets. And another question on the available years for the population data sets, I have mentioned several times, so from 2000 to 2025.
Oh, that's a nice question from Ghana, from Ajimandua in Ghana. Do you have a specific data set for Ghana?
Yeah, I am really happy that just 2 weeks ago with Ghana, the Bureau of Statistics there, we managed to release the GIS data for the latest survey conducted, so for Ghana Mix 6. And because we have just released the GIS data, survey boundaries, and GPS data for Ghana Mix 6 2 weeks ago, yesterday we also released the geospatial covariates for Ghana Mix 6. And this colleague can directly go to the GIS MICS GIS webpage in the MICS website to download the geospatial covariates for Ghana as well. The data are available there. Also, the data are shared with the statistics office and with the UNICEF country office in Ghana and in all other countries.
There's some repeating things that are difficult to address otherwise. If geospatial data can be linked to the individual data via the cluster number, yes. I mean, the way that the mixed data is structured is by cluster number, by household number, and then by individual line number. So by nature, everything is associated with the cluster. So that's how that is being done. And now we are at time, Nazim. So I think I'm gonna stick to the 11 questions that are left here. I apologize to those we didn't get to, especially Albert, who had his question there for a long time, and I will answer it in an email. Thank you very much for your time. I'll hand over to you, Nazim, to say your thanks as well. I'm very excited to see so many people joining for this. In fact, I think we are guessing on how many people will be joining, and I think it's somewhere between Nazim and Andrea who gets to win the award this time around. But Nazim, do you want to say anything before we hand over to Andrea to close?
Yeah, thank you, Bo, and thank you for everyone that joined this webinar. It's going to be online in YouTube for the colleagues that didn't manage to be together with us today. It will be in the website. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all of you soon. And to get in touch for anything, please feel free to write directly to the Mix email or directly to me and Bo and Andrea. Thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Nazim, Bo, and thanks to everybody for the questions, for the participation. I was to say I'm happy, not only happy because I won the guessing on the number of people attending this webinar, but particularly to see how much a topic that may sound super technical in reality generate a lot of interest among technical people, policy people. So we are very pleased. I'm also very pleased, and I want to make the compliments for all the hard work that has been put on this exercise. It's not a simple thing to do it. But this is part of what we want to do as UNICEF and as a UN, is to generate something that becomes a public good. And this is the major component of all this work, bringing what we do together with the NSOs, what we do, what other people have done, and bring it all together as a resource for everybody. It's a tough moment for multiple reasons, particularly it's a tough moment for data and for data collection, for evidence, for truth in a way. So we really want to bring all the possible resources together. I go back to that question, what you can do to support this work. I would say use the data. Please use the work that we have put together. It's an immense amount of resources. Do it and make sure that what you do can bring a change, you can bring some impact, and share it with us. We are very pleased when we can see all this hard work making a difference. And this is why Nazim is spending nights, and Bo is spending nights, and all the MICS team is spending time in thinking how to do a good job, a job that respects people, that is ethical, that address all the possible challenges, and still make something that is available for everybody. We want to keep learning from everybody. This is the good things of being in the UN, is that we don't sell anything. On the contrary, we try to give out what we have and what other people have done to make it, as I mentioned before, a public good, a good for everybody to make the impact. I want also to thank all the people that work in this area, all the people that develop those covariates, all the people that work in different programs in different institutions that made those data available that we used to keep doing a good job. In a way, we are sitting on their shoulder, and we keep growing the access to information to understand better what's happening around the world. Thanks so much to everybody. As I say, we will share the information. Everything is available in the webpage that is called mics.unicef.org. So it's quite simple. We will have the papers, the data sets, these presentations, and all material. And please keep up. Good job. And to the next webinar. Thanks again. Bye.